安坦在研究战争雷霆时，为了保证游戏数据的真实、专业乃至音效的逼真效果，甚至动用了真实的坦克、飞机、火炮。
In our case, because we tried to create really good music, we recorded orchestra, symphonic orchestras, and good composers, and we really trying to put a lot of efforts in music as well. But I still understand that some of the people will not hear our sounds. However, that's
Anton Yude 年纪轻轻就成为一家非常成功的网游公司的 CEO， 成为很多年轻人羡慕和崇拜的目标。可以用中国网络上一个非常流行的词来形容：高富帅。那么是什么原因让他投入到游戏行业的呢？
First of all, I'm very flattered for being handsome and tall especially. I've been making games starting from, I guess, 10th, 9th grade in the school. First of all, as a hobby, because I was a very passionate gamer. I played a lot of games. I still play a lot of games, I mean, but now it's more obvious. And I've decided that I will be able to make good game that is not yet available. Of course, it was a long time ago, and those days there were so many games that were not yet made, so it was like quite obvious you can make a game which is not yet available on the market. It was the very beginning of the whole gaming industry. I mean, generally gaming industry was for already like for 15 years, but that was mainly arcade machines. So PC and console gaming industry was only starting those days. It was the very beginning of the era. And so, because there were so many games which were not available, which I would like to play, I decided that I had to make them myself. I wasn't the only one. There were few people shared my mindset, and we started to make game, first of all, as our own projects. Some of them were actually published, not by real publishers, but they were appeared in internet and on a piracy CD discs without, so we hadn't got any revenues at all, although the game were very popular in Russia those days. So then I started working as a work for hire in a game development company as well, for obvious reasons. It was end of 90s in Russia. The economy wasn't that great, and there were a lot of issues with in the game development industry in general. The quality of management in general, not only the company I was working, but in general, wasn't that great. I guess the quality of the engineers was also not that great, but the difference was still significant. And I decided, me and my brother and our friend of ours, we decided that we need to start our own company to make games how we think should be made and what games we think should be made, because we will those days we were not able to find a good working company sharing our idea of how games should be made, what kind of games should we develop, and so on. And so in the end of 2002, we have found our company. I had some money saved, and so also I take a loan, and we've started a company. It was still a very risky project, because game development in general is very risky. Game development when you don't have established partnership with a publisher or with those days there was no Steam or Apple or Android, Google Play, or any other ways where developer can just start selling their games. So you still had to find publisher, but pretty soon we were able to establish several connections with the publishers of different way and start working on the set-top box games for cable set-top box for cable television and then PC games. The company was very small those days. It was like first 7 people, starting from 5 people, then 7 people, then 15 people, then 20 people, and we were like gradually growing each year. Natural growth is very often is slow, and very often it's painful, depending on, because you still need to earn money to do your business, and a lot of things were done by ourselves. I mean, in terms of game development. In 2006, the company was already pretty big. We were like 40 people, I guess, and we had we start working in several new directions. We make console game departments, we start making casual games, and we start making our own engine for. We're already making our engine, but we start working it on as middleware. So later on, we have published our console games. Most of our console games were very successful or just successful, and then we, even starting from 2007, I guess, 2007 or end of 2007 or beginning of 2008, we already had experience with making military games, but we wanted to make World War II games. We will not be able to convince publishers into that, so we had to earn money ourselves until we succeeded. We earned enough money so we can self-fund our development and release War Thunder. War Thunder is pretty high quality, high production value title, so it took a lot of money and a lot of efforts to make it even till open beta, but we were able to succeed in that. And although no one in the industry, I mean publishers, online publishers, have believed in success of such kind of games, the history proved us being right and them wrong.
Anton Instev 既是Gaijin公司的 CEO， 又是多款游戏的研发主策。公司的产品多是军事载具模拟类游戏，而且多是二战题材，可见Anton对二战是有很深的情结。
In general, we are Russian from Russia, and most of Russian people they feel deeply engraved by World War II history. USSR, Russia was a part of USSR those days, have made the most significant effort to finish that war, and a lot of our relatives, our grandfathers, mostly all of them, were either fighting on the war, on the front lines, or working in making planes, tanks, to make or other guns to make our army succeed. So it was a huge and really strong effort. Of course, in such times, it's also tragic, because a lot of people died those days. But in the same time, a lot of heroic movements were made, a lot of new things appeared. It's general, it's not only for USSR. World War II was a world war, but of course Russian people know that a lot. From, I guess, like a few kilometers from the place I've been born, there was a line, and there's still a monument there showing where the German tanks have been stopped, and it's very close to Moscow. So even since I was a child, and everybody else have been in that inspired by history of World War II, by heroes of World War II, and by tragic losses of World War II. So the reason why we wanted always, one of the reasons why we always wanted to make something about that, because we feel the history, we know the feelings, and we also can admire the power and the beauty of military vehicles. Because during World War II, it's not very common information, but there are few thousands, I mean literally thousands, almost 4,000 of different types of planes, not units, but types of planes participated in that period of time. A lot of new concepts, including jets, including radio, including radar systems, and a lot of other things were either invented during the World War II or being engineered and employed during World War II. So when you know something, when you feel something, you can do something really great of that. So it's one of our powers as a Russian developer and Gaijin in particular, that we can make a good war-themed and especially World War II themed game. So that was basically the reason. Again, I'm very flattered for being named as a good game designer, but obviously I'm not the only one and even not the main one. We have a big team, and a lot of people on our team have been very passionate about the history of World War II, have participated in developing a lot of other games about World War II. So it is very natural to our company to make World War II game.
安厂在研究战争雷霆时，为了保证游戏数据的真实、专业乃至音效的逼真效果，甚至动用了真实的坦克、飞机、火炮。在我们看来，这些方式在中国都是无法想象的。如此具有专业性的战争雷霆，究竟会给玩家传达怎样的游戏精神和游戏体验呢？
The main idea is that we just don't make compromises. When we can make something authentic, we try to make that authentic. Unfortunately, not many World War II vehicles are really working those days, but those who are, we try to record them, to photograph them, to replicate them in the game as close to reality as possible. It's not a message to a player per se, it's more of our approach, our attitude to the game. We try to make the game as perfect as possible. I doubt it will make commercial reasonable. I know that at least 20% of the players play without sounds, or switch or reducing the sounds and playing their own music in their headphones. So I know that. I do hope that it's less percentage in our case, because we try to create really good music. We recorded orchestra, symphonic orchestras, and good composers, and we're really trying to put a lot of efforts in music as well. But I still understand that some of the people will not hear our sounds. However, that's up to them. It's their decision. What we're trying to do is to make the visuals, details, authenticity in general, and sounds as well to be as authentic as possible and as cool as possible. We even put efforts to repair the old World War II vehicles to make them to record their sounds, which is beyond any commercial reasonable efforts for any other game. It's just our passion about the game, about the history.
在首发仪式上，战争雷霆的 CG 非常精美，而以歌剧的形式来演绎战争的美感更让人耳目一新。那么，如何来看待或解读战争雷霆所提出的战争的艺术的概念呢？
That's the main. The war is scary. Basically, no one wants to participate in war. However, the beauty of those vehicles, of the military vehicles, of planes and tanks and ships, is also something really moving most of, at least, male audience, because we feel the power and we feel the aesthetic general aesthetic of those things, of these vehicles. So the same goes to the combat itself. Of course, during the real combat, people dies. Luckily, we're making a game, so we can try to put these emotions, to get people to feel those emotions of a combat, and in the same time they do not risk really die or taking injuries in the game. So War Thunder Heroes is one of the examples of our vision of what we are making in the game. We're making the real, try to provide the real feelings, the emotions of those people who are controlling those vehicles, pilots, tank drivers, or captains or the ship. So when you play in our game in War Thunder, you can feel those emotions, and at the same time you can participate in a real combat, almost real combat, of course, without risking having injury and without guilt for killing real people. So we not show blood, we not show those wounds in the game, even in the CG video. World War II has ended, and although it was not nice in general, but it still has ended, and good guys have prevailed. So the War Thunder Heroes and the game in our game, we try to emphasize, to show that the idea, the hope for the future after the war, the emotions about and hopes for a victory, and emotions about that. So, and at the same time, it is still interesting and intelligent competition. I mean, you are really trying to prevail on a battlefield against enemy team, and that's a real male competition. There are not many people, not much things that male do better than female, but war is one of them. So you can participate in that scale, epic scale of a real war in a game without real risk and real guilt.
战争雷霆在外服中已经实现了在一个客户端下实现陆空联动对战模式，飞机 vs 坦克。那玩家们万分期待海陆空三端联动多久才可以实现呢？会成为战争雷霆的终极目标吗？
Well, first of all, of course, warships and tanks are not fighting against each other due to obvious reasons. So it's more about tanks and planes and warships. Even in the current version, you already have warships and then tanks and planes, but only planes and tanks can be controlled by players. Warships are AI only. Yet. The idea is that you cannot make a game about one type of well, probably you can make a game about planes only, but you cannot make a game about tanks only or warships only, because during World War II a lot of effect was provided by aviation. Aviation was changing the battle, the combat. It can really, there are a lot of good examples how planes only can kill, like Yamato, which is the a very big and scary battleship, and in the same time they really deal victory. But planes cannot, especially planes of World War II, cannot actually capture the territory. How powerful your plane is doesn't matter if you cannot control on the ground or on the sea. So this interaction between different types of vehicles is the key to understanding of World War II. World War II was about infantry, which takes the most part, tanks, which provided the tanks and other armored vehicles, which provided the real firepower to the ground, and warships, which provided the same firepower on the seaside. But none of the battles can actually be understood as the World War II battles without the planes. So this interaction between either two of the vehicles is key to understanding World War II. Infantry, of course, is also very important. However, none of the people, even if they're not superhuman, but superhuman can probably do that. But in real life, a human cannot prevail against a tank, or especially against plane, or against sea warship, because for obvious reasons, they're armored and people not that armored. During World War II, there was all sides of the conflict hasn't enough armored vehicles. Otherwise, most of the battles would be fought by only armored vehicles with insignificant support from infantry. So, in terms of for game design purposes, it makes a lot of sense to focus on those main armored vehicles, which really were the steel beasts, their real firepower during World War II. So it's not about, having all three, which we do have, but it's not about having all three. It's all about interactions, about the communications between different type of vehicles and between different type of players as well. So even tanks and planes and warships by themselves provide that level of communication, that level of interaction. So it's all about that. In planes only, you have bombers and fighters and strike fighters, which also provide types of communication, but still that's not enough. You need to have this interaction between those who will really take the territory and those who can give enough support, of firepower support, to take the territory, to prevail against the enemy army. So that's a real World War II epic scale battle, and if you want to have the World War II experience, you need to play with the game with that.
在中国，也有很多怀揣游戏梦想的创业人，为了实现自己的梦想，不断的努力。Anton 作为游戏公司的创始人，他会有什么好的建议来与中国游戏人分享呢？
There are two general and two specific advices I can give. General advice is you need to work a lot and work hard. It doesn't mean that you will be successful, but if you are not, you can only count on a luck. Luck is good if you do have it, but most of the time luck comes to those who are trying. So you will need to work hard. And the second general advice is that you need to be patient about what you're doing. You need to feel that you're doing something great, which all other people, or at least you, will admire. You need to make a game which you want to play. You don't want to start working on a game which you don't feel is good, but you feel your audience will like. It's so unlikely that it will result in any kind of success that it doesn't make sense. Moreover, even if it will result in some kind of success, that success will be only temporal, because you cannot learn anything from success of the game which you not believe in. There's not, that means you just believed in someone else, and someone else has been proven right. So you do not know anything at all, anything new. You haven't learned anything. This someone else who told you that the game will be great, and you done it and it's great. That's someone else's achievement, not you, not yours. So 2 general advices: work hard and work only on a thing you feel you can make good. You have passion about it. If you don't have passion about anything in particular, then I would suggest not to work in game industry at all. And 2 particular advices. Today is one of the best days for making games. Before era of mobile devices and digital distribution platforms, there was not much way you can be successful even if you make a good game without having established and good connection with one of big publishers. Having big publishers on your site is great, but most likely big publishers will want you only if you're already successful, which means you need to be successful first. And that means you need to start working with your audience directly. Mobile devices, browser-based games, and digital distribution platforms provide you very short way to your customers. So do that. Do not start working on a game which is so big that can only be published with a big publisher. Well, if you have buff, if you have a passion about that, you can, and you can probably be successful, but it's just not what I will recommend, because the chances are low. And the second particular advice is that you need to talk with your community, with your audience directly. Show them what you're doing, listen for their feedback, and try to learn something from it. It doesn't mean that you need to immediately do what everything is saying to you, because first of all, they will be saying completely different things, and second, they cannot give you some new ideas, because feedback is something reacting. And if you want to make something new, you need to start proactive. You need to be first one. But when you have this idea and you've already done something which is playable and interesting, you need to have feedbacks from your customers. Put it on as a demo version, put it on at least give it to your friends, and listen to what they say. Probably your game is great, but there is some frustrating experiences in this game, not about the main idea, but about something else, which can spoil the game. So listen to your community before it's too late. Those are 2 my specific and particular advices.